So we have a pretty massive stack of documents on the desk today.
Dossier #38.
That's the one. We're looking at police reports, bodycam transcripts, interrogation logs, all coming out of Luna County, New Mexico.
And this case is, well, it's a heavy file. A necessary one.
What we're really digging into is a case that forensic psychologists often call a domestic laboratory of cruelty.
It's about architecture. Not just the physical building she was in, but the psychological architecture that let it happen.
And our mission today isn't just to go through the timeline, but to really try and understand the psychology of confinement.
Yeah.
You know, how does a rusty cage become a home?
Exactly.
So let's start with the physical reality, because the weather reports in the file, I mean, they set the stage immediately.
104 degrees Fahrenheit.
In the New Mexico desert. I've been in that kind of heat. And it's not just warm, it actually vibrates. It dries you out instantly.
And in that heat, we have this rusted metal shed.
Yeah, looking at the crime scene photos, this isn't some barn or a garage. It's a metal box. No windows, no vents.
Which is a critical distinction. A metal box with no ventilation in that kind of heat becomes a convection oven.
An oven?
The temperature inside would have been significantly higher than outside. We're talking about conditions that are just. They're not compatible with human life for long.
And on the door of this oven, there's a padlock. But the detail from the deputy's initial report that really stuck with me was the placement.
For the placement.
The hasp for the lock isn't at waist height where you'd expect it. It's placed specifically high up on the door.
That's an architectural declaration of intent.
Yeah.
It's not about keeping people out.
No.
It's about keeping a small child in. It turns a shed into a cell.
So the deputy arrives. He's on a tip. He knocks on this metal door. And, you know, you'd expect screaming or crying.
Something banging on the door.
But the body cam transcript records something else entirely. A voice comes out of the dark. It's this bright, cheerful, 6-year-old voice.
And what does she ask?
She asks him, "Are you a friend?"
That single question is maybe the most chilling behavioral marker in the entire dossier. It just stops you cold.
Yeah.
You expect a fight or flight response. But what we see here is a fawn response.
Fawn, as in she's trying to appease him.
Precisely. It signals a complete adaptation to her environment. If she were screaming, she'd still be fighting her reality.
Right.
But by being cheerful, by asking if he's a friend, she has learned that compliance is her only survival mechanism. She's not a victim being rescued. She's a hostage trying not to trigger the guard.
So the deputy has to physically break the wall open because it's padlocked.
Yeah.
And we get our first look inside.
And the contents are grim. A poop bucket, a filthy mattress, no running water.
It's a sensory nightmare.
That's a common tactic in dehumanization. Forcing a victim to live in filth is used to justify the abuse. It's a self-fulfilling cycle of degradation.
I want to look at the layout of the property for a second, because the police map is just, it's devastating. You have this graveyard of old junk where the shed is.
But just 10 feet away.
10 feet. I checked the measurements. 10 feet away, there's a trailer.
A completely different universe.
It really is. The report notes the trailer is hooked up to power. The AC is humming. Inside, the parents, Samantha and Bruce, they're in a cool, climate-controlled room.
But the family dog is the crucial data point.
The dog. The report explicitly states the dog had access to food and water. The dog was hydrated. Meanwhile, Ava's provisions in the shed were a single tortilla and some diced onions.
That's not a meal, that's a caloric insult. It's the bare minimum to keep an organism functioning, but nothing more.
So when you put the cool, hydrated, fed dog next to the overheating, starving child...
You see the hierarchy. Ava wasn't just the lowest ranking member of the family. She ranks below the pet. She was being actively devalued.
Let's talk about Ava's physical state when she came out. The medical assessment is, it's a hard read. A black eye, bruising.
Which is consistent with assault. But then there's the V-shaped scar on her back.
What does that tell you?
A V-shape is forensically specific. It usually means a looped object was used as a weapon. A cord, a wire, a belt folded over.
And Samantha later admits in the interrogation that Bruce used an AC line to hit her.
Which matches the injury pattern perfectly.
The report also notes alopecia, hair loss, and deformities in her wrist and elbow.
The hair loss could be from extreme stress, or it could be traction alopecia, meaning her hair was literally pulled out.
And the deformities.
That's malignant. It means she suffered broken bones in the past that were never treated. They healed wrong. This wasn't a bad week. This was her entire life.
And yet, when they ask her what happened, she just sticks to the script. She tells the deputy, "I fell." She repeats it, "I fell yesterday."
That's the survival script. She has to protect the abusers because they're the ones with the power. Even with the cop right there, the fear of Bruce and Samantha is more real to her than the idea of safety.
Speaking of them, let's move to the interrogation room. Bruce's transcript is something else. You'd expect panic or silence, but Bruce is loud. He's angry.
It's a textbook case of what we call narcissistic indignation. He feels that he is the victim here.
He's offended.
He's offended that the police are daring to question his authority over his own home.
I've got the transcript right here. He threatens to sue the department. He tells them, you can't arrest me, and then he brings up his mother's money.
Of course.
Says she has millions and will buy and sell the whole department.
Notice what he's focused on. Status, power, wealth. He's trying to reestablish dominance. In his mind, he's a good man burdened with a problem child, and now the police are harassing him for it.
He actually uses the phrase, I took her in out of the goodness of my heart. I mean, I had to read that twice. He's locking a kid in a shed, and he sees himself as a savior.
That's the goodness delusion. To make his actions and his self-image match, he has to villainize the child. He calls her the problem. He says she steals food, but you have to parse that. A starving child taking a cracker isn't stealing, it's survival. But by reframing her hunger as a moral failing, as theft, he justifies his punishment. He's not an abuser, he's a disciplinarian. It cleans his conscience.
There's a point in the interrogation where the detective is pressing him on the facts, the heat, the lock, and suddenly Bruce's whole demeanor changes.
What does he do?
He grabs his chest, claims he's having a stroke, an anxiety attack.
A classic manipulation tactic. When the bully strategy fails, he switches to the victim strategy. Feigning a medical emergency is about seizing control. It forces the interrogation to stop. It makes the officers care for him.
It shifts the spotlight from his crime to his supposed suffering.
Exactly.
The medics checked him out, by the way. His vitals were normal. It was a complete performance.
But the keys are the definitive proof.
The smoking gun for me. The police report catalogs 2 sets of keys for that high-placed padlock. One set on the dashboard of the truck.
And the other?
In Bruce's pocket.
That detail just destroys any defense. This wasn't an accident. They walked away with the only exits in their pockets. They had total conscious control. It was their daily routine.
So let's pivot to Samantha, the mother, because the question we always get is, where was the mom?
And her story is frustrating. She claimed she was afraid of Bruce, that she was a victim too. And those dynamics are complex, I get that.
But there are details here that make it hard to see her as just a passive victim.
Her complicity was active. The interrogation reveals she left the property while Ava was locked in that shed. She went into town.
To do what? This part blew my mind. She tells the detective she went to hustle, to beg for money.
And she made $6.
$6.
Think about that trade-off. She left her daughter in a metal oven, possibly facing death, to go make $6. Prioritized a negligible amount of cash over her child's life.
She had the car, she had the keys, she was in town alone, she could have driven to the police station, but she went back.
And that's where traumatic bonding comes into play. She likely felt her survival and the survival of her biological child with Bruce, Millie, depended on appeasing him.
So Ava was the scapegoat.
She effectively agreed to delete Ava from the family to keep the peace. She sacrificed one child to protect her own position with the abuser.
And the detectives found this Facebook post from a few months before. She wrote, if you see me disciplining my child, mind your business.
That's the abuser's manifesto. It's a preemptive strike against the community. She's telling everyone, my authority is more important than your morality. It creates a zone of silence for the abuse to continue.
And it worked. The neighbors didn't call, the silence held until that one tip finally came in.
And that's the tragedy of the mind your business culture. Privacy is one thing. Secrecy is a predator's best friend. When we see red flags and choose to look away, we're essentially collaborating with the padlock.
So let's wrap up the file. The outcome is clear. The shed was torn open. Bruce and Samantha were arrested. Abuse of a child, false imprisonment. Ava and her sister Millie are in protective custody.
Justice is being served, legally. But the psychological scars for Ava, that adaptation we saw, that "are you a friend" reaction, that's going to be a hard wire to uncross.
She learned that love means compliance.
And that safety is conditional.
And for us, I think the takeaway is about observation. The rusty cage isn't just that one shed in New Mexico. It's a pattern.
Absolutely. It's about looking for the disparities. The child who is treated differently from the siblings. The one who gets the chores while the other gets the new clothes. And listen to the language. When a parent calls a child an it or a problem instead of their name, you have to pay attention.
And look for the locks. That image of the padlock placed 5 feet up that door. That's not going to leave me. That's not security.
It is the architectural fingerprint of abuse.
The bars on that shed are gone now, but the silence that allowed it to stand for so long, that's still out there. So as you go about your week, keep your eyes open. If you see something that doesn't add up, don't just mind your business.
Make the call. Be the friend she was looking for.
Dossier #38 is closed, but the darkness remains.
But the darkness remains. Your next dossier is ready, and it's even more disturbing than this one. Click here to open it.